Madam President, I have to say first and foremost that it has been a real privilege to work with Senator Murray from the state of Washington. We are across the hall from one another. We see each other going and coming back to the floor and from the office. We've worked hard. Our staffs has worked hard. And finally, the lightning is struck. We're about today in the Congress of the United States to reauthorize the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act and address one of the significant challenges that faces America today. As we sit here in this chamber today and talk about this bill, there are 10,600,000 Americans who are unemployed. There are also 4 million jobs waiting to be filled by people that need specific skills. This bill deals with the skills deficit in America and is going to match some of those unemployed with some of those jobs to lower our unemployment rate and raise the rate of prosperity in American families. This is an important bill. Now, a lot of people who've watched the Senate over the last few years might have said, how in the world did y'all reach an agreement on anything? You always seem to be fighting. You always seem to be arguing. Well, I want to tell a brief story on the floor if I can. About a month ago, Senator Murray and I joined a few other members of the Senate, Senator Harkin and Senator Alexander, a couple members of the House, Representative Fox from North Carolina and Representative Klein, the chairman of the Workforce Committee in the House. And we sat down around a table and we didn't say, all right, what is it that divides us? We said, what is it that unites us? And what unites us is the fact that the American people are looking for leadership from us to deal with the unemployment issue and the training issue, and we've been languishing to try and reauthorize this bill for 12 years. So we sat down and decided what we agreed on. We identified what the problems were. We worked with the members of the House who opened up and said, well, we've passed a Skills Act, but we'll sit down and listen to your side and try and find common ground. And after a few days, really, not weeks, we found common ground on 80% of the issues that confront us in workforce investment area. There are a few places where we found disagreement, sure. And so did those stop us? No, because the perfect should never be the enemy of the good. And this bill is the good of the United States Senate in terms of dealing with issues. Now, I want to brag about a few people in this body, if I can, besides Senator Murray. I want to talk about Scott Cheney for a second, her loyal assistant, who was sat in my office with me about a week and a half ago, side by side, staff and senator, working out some of the details on this bill. Tommy Nguyen on my staff, who has worked countless hours for countless years to make this happen. And David Cleary, the aide to the committee, the aide to Senator Alexander, has been done yeoman's job. In fact, he did probably as much of the hand-holding in the last couple of weeks over amendments as anybody I know of. I want to thank Senator Enzi from Wyoming, who is really my mentor in the United States Senate. When I was first elected to Congress, I was appointed to a web-based education joint commission between the House and the Senate. Mike Enzi was the Republican senator who was appointed to that commission. I was the Republican congressman. I didn't know Mike Enzi, but I watched him work. I watched him find solutions to problems. I watched his quiet, patient work to find a solution, and I said, that's the guy I would like to be like. He's the guy that really got Ms. Murray and I to this point today because he was forged ahead when nobody else would. When Chairman Kennedy was chairman of the committee before his tragic loss, Mike continued to work with Senator Kennedy to say, let's try and find a way to do workforce innovation and opportunity. I'm glad we're doing it here today, and we're doing it in large measure because of Senator Mike Enzi. Senator Tim Scott, who did yeoman's work, he introduced the Skills Act that was passed in the House and the Senate. He could have folded his arms and say, I'm going to be recalcitrant, I'm not going to cooperate, but he said, what can I do to help? There are some things I want to make sure we do. But the one thing I want to make sure we don't do is not address the problem of unemployment and training. Tim Scott was of immeasurable help. Rob Portman was of tremendous help to us. We had so many members whose ideas have been incorporated in this bill, deal with the issues of skills, deal with the issue of unemployment. I am so appreciative of each and every one of them, and I think the American people will too. I want to highlight just a couple of things that are in here that are so important. Unlike most things government does, we've scaled down the size of workforce investment boards in the states and in the local communities. So they're working numbers, not numbers that are so big they're unwieldy and can't work. We put more money into training and less money into bureaucracy. We scaled down a number of workforce programs and consolidated them to maximize the federal dollar to benefit at the state level. And we gave the state level the vocal authority to determine the curriculum that was best for Washington or best for Georgia. Washington is not a one-size-fits-all town, and workforce development is not a one-size-fits-all issue. Through the labor departments of the various states, we now are going to empower them, train people for the jobs they need in their state, not the jobs Washington might think they might have needed in their state. That's a tremendous advance forward in this legislation and equally very important. Some people will sit on the floor and say, well, did we get all we wanted? No, we didn't. Nobody did. Did you get enough? We got plenty. There are a lot of labor commissioners and governors who are going to be celebrating. In fact, I've had two calls this morning from governors' offices or from labor department offices saying, thank you, you're finally giving us the power to address what we need to do in our state to address unemployment and address job training. So it's been a privilege for me to work with Senator Harkin, Senator Alexander, and Senator Murray. And I want to close before I turn the floor over to Senator Harkin, who I think will be next on the floor, to commend Senator Harkin on his leadership as the chairman. He and Senator Alexander gave us the encouragement that we could get a bill done. They didn't insist on something they wanted in the bill to be there just exactly like they wanted it. As we all know, Senator Harkin is a champion for those with disabilities, and the disability section in this bill is outstanding to provide training, opportunity, and rehabilitation for those that operate with developmental disabilities in our country. And that's what we should be doing on the workforce, because their contribution is as important as the contribution of any other single American. So today is a great day for the United States Senate. It's also a great day for workforce in America. And it's a great day for training for the skills. We want to fill the 4 million jobs that are vacant in America with 4 million of those 10,600,000 unemployed in America to raise prosperity, raise opportunity, and raise hope in America. With that said, Madam President, I will yield the floor